Drifted to left field and deep. Back goes Hamilton to the track at the wall. It is gone. Kemp hits it out, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. 2-1 Dodgers, bottom of the ninth inning. You couldn't ask for much more. Time for Dodger baseball. Live from Angel Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Angels. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you, wherever you may be. First thing should be out front. The Giants played Milwaukee today, and the Giants lost. So the Dodgers take the field technically 3 games in front. If they win, it goes to 3.5, and if they lose, it would revert back to 2.5. Tonight, a battle of left-handers, Hyun-Jin Ryu and C.J. Wilson of the Angels. Hyun-Jin Ryu, a 12-game winner. He is 12-5, and he has a 3-game winning streak. He's faced the Angels once and shut him down. As far as the Angels are concerned, C.J. Wilson will be on the mound. He has a record of 8-9 and no record against the Dodgers. Oh, however, he has pitched 12 innings against the Dodgers and has given up 7 runs. Another note about the two left-handers, the Dodgers, interestingly enough, on the road are 11-3 against left-hand pitching. Meanwhile, the Angels at home against left-handers are 15-5. So the battle continues. One of the top road clubs against the best home team, the Dodgers and the Angels. After tonight's game, the Dodgers will move on to Milwaukee, but more about that later on. Right now, we'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. Dodgers at Anaheim Stadium here for the Angels in the final game of the 4-game series. Dodgers slowing a slight edge by winning last night. They've won 2 of 3. For the Dodgers, getting a lift with the news that the Giants lost to Milwaukee today, 3-1. By the way, the Dodgers following tonight's game will go directly to Milwaukee. While we have minute, we just want to pass along the word. The Dodgers picked up a veteran pitcher from Philadelphia today, big right-hander Roberto Hernandez. He's 6'4" and 230. He will be 34 in August. And while he was pitching for Philadelphia, he had 2 games against Milwaukee. Back in April, he went 5 innings, no decision. And on July 9, he pitched 8 innings and beat the Brewers. And we understand he was flying today from Philadelphia to Chicago, getting a car, and then driving to Milwaukee. The word is that Roberto Hernandez will pitch tomorrow for the Dodgers against Milwaukee. However, we are still not sure about the personnel movement to accommodate him. We do know that Josh Beckett, bothered by the bad hip, went back to Los Angeles to be examined by Dr. Neil Elatrash. So we have to wait until we get the results from Dr. Elatrash and Beckett before we can find out who will have to make room for Roberto Hernandez. But the big story is he is a Dodger now, originally signed by the Cleveland Indians in the year 2000. So we had the time to duck that in. Now we have the time to take a look at Don Mattingly's lineup, and it goes this way. D. Gordon sits down tonight with the left-hander going. He could use a rest anyway. So Justin Turner leads off at second, followed by Yasiel Puig in center. Adrian Gonzalez, good numbers against Wilson, hits third. And Hanley Ramirez is the DH. Then you have Matt Kemp in right, Scott Van Slyke in left, Juan Uribe at third, A.J. Ellis behind the plate. And because this game is being played in the American League Park with the DH, Miguel Rojas is the shortstop. On the mound, C.J. Wilson, a local boy out of Newport Beach, lives in Huntington Beach, went to Loyola Marymount University, and C.J. originally drafted by the Rangers. He was a 5th-round pick back in 2001. He's a rather interesting man. I mean, he does a lot more than just throw baseballs. He began dowering and studying sports psychology books when he was 12 years old. He used to stay up night with a flashlight in his bedroom, reading all about baseball books, both people like Tom Seaver and Wade Boggs. He did have some problems. He had reconstructive elbow surgery. That lined him for 18 months after the 03 season when he was in Double-A. He went to spring training with the Rangers, and all he had to do was report for an hour of rehab every day, nothing else to do. So CJ said, in 18 months, I read 200 to 300 books. He has excellent run support so far. He is basically a ground ball pitcher, and he'll be facing Justin Turner, followed by Yasiel Puig, and then Adrian Gonzalez. Turner, who is certainly one of the big surprises. No one expected Justin to play as well as he has. They knew he was a good player, but he's hitting .314, and he's played everywhere on the infield and takes a strike. 0-1. So the Dodgers 11-3 against left-handers on the road. That means Wilson. And the Angels 15-5 at home against left-handers, and that means Ryu. Lovely evening, temperature 74 degrees, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count on Justin Turner. CJ cleaning off his spikes, now both feet up on the rubber, settles in, and Turner waits. And the 1-1 pitch on the way, outside, ball 2, 2-1. Justin Turner, in his last game, which means last night, he was very much involved, 2 for 3 with a walk, hitting .263 against left-hand pitching, and the next one in at the knees for a strike. Of his 8 victories, CJ has won 6 of the 8 here in Anaheim. Now the 2-2 pitch, Turner takes fastball, letter high, strike 3 called, and down he goes. So Turner hangs around at the plate. He thought the pitch was high, but he's rung up, and we have one away. Brian Knight is the plate umpire. Among other things for Brian Knight, he was the plate umpire when Josh Beckett pitched his no-hitter in Philadelphia. That was the game where the Dodgers beat the Phils 6-0, and Beckett had the victory. So the batter now is Yasiel Puig. He'll be followed by Adrian Gonzalez. Yasiel hitting .316, takes a strike outside part of the plate around the knees. No balls and one strike. Giants lost today to Milwaukee 3-1, so the Dodgers have a chance to pick up a game. Wilson, both feet on the rubber, turns left-hander back with a fastball that shoots inside at the hands. 1 ball and 1 strike. Yasiel Puig, 13 home runs, 52 runs batted in, and he has also scored 62. CJ comes right back 1-1. Puig grounds one up the middle to the left by the diving Ibar into shallow left center. Puig a big turn and then holds on with a single. So Yasiel Puig with 1 out, a base hit to left center, and the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. Ground ball way to the left. Ibar tried making a dive, but the ball went by him. So Puig at first. Adrian Gonzalez, as we mentioned, has put up big numbers against CJ. We'll see if they apply tonight. Adrian with 15 home runs, 72 runs batted in. As they used to say, he had the collar last night, going 0 for 4, hitting .257. Gonzalez last night made a huge contribution with his glove, and the pitch to Adrian in for a strike. That was in the 6th inning last night. Cole Calhoun, a bullet heading down the right field line, and a great leaping one-hand catch by Gonzalez held on to give the Dodgers the 2-1 victory. 0-1 the count. CJ looks over at first, comes back now off the plate and balances it up. For CJ Wilson, they used to run on him a lot. That comes as a surprise when you're a left-hand pitcher looking over, but the percentage was about 71% successfully. This year, however, it's 50%. The runners are 6 for 12. Wilson back, Adrian takes off the plate, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike. Hyun-Jin Ryu, in his entire career, they've only been 6 attempted steals, and the league 3 for 6, just 50%. So Wilson, 33 years old, 34 in November, and his 2-1 pitch coming up. CJ delivers, Adrian fouls it back into the screen, and the count 2-2. Gonzalez 0 for 4 last night, and actually it's so easy to get offers, and you look up and he's 0 for his last 12, and struggling against all the left-handers, hitting only .170. However, as we mentioned, he's had some great success against C.J. Wilson. So Adrian back up and waiting. Wilson out of a stretch. Puig short lead at first, but draws a throw anyway, just in case he's thinking about running. For Puig, he's been a break-even base stealer, 7 for 14. 1 out, first inning, no score, just starting. Wilson ready, comes back to Gonzalez, who fouls that upstairs off to the left, and the count 2-2. Not quite sure of how many tickets were sold. We'll find out later on. Last night it was considered a sellout, 43,669. So we'll see about tonight. The Dodgers and the Angels. A wonderful rivalry, but there's no sense of bitterness, which is wonderful. One reason, I guess, they only play 4 times a year. 2-2 pitch on the way. Adrian swings and misses, and down he goes. Well, C.J. Wilson has struck out 2, and the batter will be Hanley Ramirez. We'll take a look at the Angels with the glove. They shape out this way with Cron, Henrik, Ibar and Freese, Hamilton, Trout, and Cowgill, and Chris Iannetta handling Wilson. Hanley Ramirez playing a little bit quietly right about now, not doing too much. 1 for 4 last night, struck out twice. 12 home runs, 56 runs batted in. However, he's had good success against left-handers. 4 of his home runs and a .293 batting average. So Hanley waits. Wilson's fastball right in there for a strike at 93. No doubt about that one. That was right down the pipe. On deck, Matt Kemp. CJ left foot on the rubber, looks over at Puig, who has a short lead, held on by Cron. No balls and 1 strike to Hanley Ramirez. Wilson's fastball is a little low and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Wilson has allowed 15 home runs. He has over 100 strikeouts. His strikeout ratio a little bit better than 2-1. Left-hander ready, and the 1-1 pitch on the way to Hanley is in the dirt. Nice save by Chris Iannetta, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike. Hanley has scored 50 while knocking in 56. On a 2-1 count, he backs out and looks down to Lorenzo Bundy. Iannetta, meanwhile, watching Puig and looking over to see if there's a sign, but he's not going to call pitch out 2-1, that's for sure. Puig takes a little walking lead, but it's not a big one. Wilson looks now to the plate, and the fastball is low, ball 3. The 3-1 to Hanley Ramirez. We have 2 down in the first inning, no score. The Dodgers, an outstanding road team. They are 12 games above 500, having won 35 and lost 23. They're only 3 games above 500 at home. Throw over the first, Puig back on the bag. For the Angels, they're in reverse. They're a wonderfully successful home team, 18 games above 500 for Mike's club, but they're only 3 games above 500 on the road. 3-1 to Hanley Ramirez. Out of a stretch goes Wilson. Left-handed delivers, fastball hit right back to the pitcher. CJ throws to first, and that's out. No runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of half an inning, Dodgers nothing, and the Angels coming up. In the first inning, Wilson strikes out 2, gives up a base hit. Now it's time to look at Mike Scioscia's lineup, and here's the way it goes. Eric Ibar leading off at short. Mike Trout on his birthday in center field. Albert Pujols the DH. Josh Hamilton in left. Howie Kendrick in second base. David Freese at third. Chris Iannetta the catcher. C.J. Cron at first, and Colin Cowgill in right field. Eric Ibar has 70 base hits as he checks in against Hyun-Jin Ryu. 70 hits in interleague play. So Ryu will start off putting his 12-5 record on the line. He begins the night with a 3-game winning streak. Last year, he shut out the Angels, and we'll see how he goes tonight. First pitch away to Eric, and a 1-ball, no-strike count. Ibar hitting .272, a half a dozen home runs, 52 runs batted in. Very good bunter. Ryu delivers ground ball to short. Rojas is up with it and promptly throws him out. So one away, and now make way for the birthday boy. But first, we'll set the Dodgers defensively, and they go this way. The Dodgers with Gonzalez and Turner, followed by Rojas and Uribe, and then you have Van Slyke, Puig, and Kemp with Ellis behind the plate. So Mike Trout, 23 years old. Among other things, everybody wishing him a very happy birthday. By the way, he has done very well on his birthday. He has homered in both of them in the big leagues, and he takes low, ball 1. He hit a solo home run against the A's 2 years ago, and he had a 2-run home run against the Rangers on his birthday last year. 1-0 pitch on the way. Trout has a look, and it's low. 2 balls and no strikes. He has 75 base hits in interleague play. He did have a streak of 20 straight, but the Dodgers shut him down last night. Popped up, flied out, popped up again, and struck out. He takes one high and off the plate, so Ryu falls behind 3-0 to Mike. 23 years old today, and he's already become a national treasure in this game of baseball. The 3-0 pitch on the way. He looks at a strike, and the count 3-1. Hard to believe that the Nationals and the D-backs each passed on Trout twice. That means a total of 21 teams missed out on picking him when he was eligible. He lifts one on the infield. Coming in is Rojas, the shortstop calling, and Miguel makes the catch. So Trout pops it up. The Dodgers have done pretty well against Mike in this series. He's now hitting less than .245 against him in his career. And they've shut him down a bit since the first game. So with 2 out in the first inning, Dan Haren along with Clayton Kershaw. Haren turning in that phenomenal night where he went 7 1/3 innings. Had a perfect game for the first 16 batters. What a lift he gave the Dodgers last evening. So now here is Albert Pujols, another legend, and the fastball to strike. The only difference with Albert Pujols, he has been around long enough to be a legend. Trout, a 2-year legend already. 2 down, first inning, no score, and the strike 1 pitch on the way, off speed and high, and a 1-ball, 1-count strike to Albert Pujols. 34 years old, 6'3", 230. Put up tremendous numbers. 49 home runs, the most he ever hit in 1 year. Strokes one to left, going back as Van Slyke reaches up to make the catch. So the Angels go 1, 2, 3, and at the end of an inning, it's the Dodgers nothing and the Angels nothing. ball game. Matt Kemp will lead it off. And you know, Matt's been hotter for longer than you think. You go back to the All-Star break. Since that break, he's first in on-base plus slugging. He's tied for first in home runs. Slugging averages out of this world. 15 RBIs and a .344 batting average. In fact, you can even improve on that. Going back to June the 6th, he has put up big numbers. So Matt Kemp batting .282, 14 home runs, 50 runs batted in. Top of the second, no score. Kemp, Van Slyke, and Uribe. C.J. Wilson ready, delivers, broken bat, and a looper that drops into left center for a base hit. So Matt Kemp, who usually does well early in the count, I would say inside of 3 pitches, you know he's going to be swinging. That time the bat just came apart, but he has a base hit to left field. Kemp uncharacteristically began the year against left-handers. He was hitting .129, but in the last 22 games, he's hit .405 against left-hand pitching with his 2 home runs this year against left-handers. So Kemp with a base hit, and here is Van Slyke. Van Slyke batting .290. C.J. Wilson ready and delivers, and the fastball is low. Ball 1. 1-0 the count. Van Slyke puts up good numbers, which is why he's in there tonight against a left-hander. Hitting .271, 7 home runs, and 11 ribbies. Wilson looks over at Kemp. Left-hander double checks, now to the plate. Fastball in for a strike, and the count 1-1. Van Slyke has 9 home runs, 7 against left-handers. He played briefly Monday and went 0 for 1. Scotty waiting. Kemp at first. Nobody out. No score. Throw to first. And Matt back on the bag. Matt Kemp, with all of his speed and knowledge, is not a particularly successful base stealer. He has stolen 7 out of 12. We're in the second inning. Van Slyke is hitting 6th in the lineup. No score. Wilson ready. CJ double checking. Now back with a fastball at the knees for a strike at 91. And the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. C.J. Wilson grew up around the track. His father worked on a pit crew. As a child, he would race go-karts. Couldn't get enough of racing video games. So that was more than baseball as a kid, and he promptly bounces one all the way to the backstop. Kemp jogs to second, and he will hold on. So for C.J. Wilson, who came into the game with 7 wild pitches, he immediately uncorks another one. Iannetta actually did not make a good play on the pitch. He turned the glove. And, of course, when you turn it, that cuts down the chance. If he had turned the glove so that the pocket of the glove is facing the pitcher, he would have had a much better chance. Hank Conger would certainly agree with that. So Kemp is at second on the wild pitch. And a 2-2 count to Scott Van Slyke. Wilson trying to hide the ball back of his left hip. Now the left-hander ready and comes back, and Scotty is hit by the pitch. And just like that, the Dodgers now have runners at first and second. That is the 8th man that Wilson has hit so far this year. So a broken bat single, a wild pitch, and a hit batter on the left leg. And now Juan Uribe coming up with a chance to get the Dodgers on the board. Scotty obviously asking for time, looking over at the Dodger dugout. I think he's laughing about it. So 2 on, nobody out. Uribe this year hitting .269 with 1 home run against left-hand pitching. Overall batting .300 with 6 home runs. So 2 on, nobody out. Second inning, no score. Wilson, who has won 8 and lost 7. He has a 6-game winning streak at home, and he's in the dirt. A nice save by Chris Iannetta. So 1-0 the count. Mike Butcher, the pitching coach of the Angels, sweating out Wilson for the moment. CJ swinging his shoulders and arms back and forth. Wilson, so interesting, has studied Eastern philosophy among many books and subjects he has studied about. 1-0 pitch on the way, and that's a strike, and they count 1-1. So Uribe trying to extend the inning, and on deck A.J. Ellis, and then Miguel Rojas bats ninth, the shortstop. So with A.J. waiting, Uribe up there, 1 ball and 1 strike. Wilson set at the belt, looks at the runners, and the 1-1 pitch. Uribe, it's a ground ball down to shortstop. The feed for 1, the throw to first, and Uribe hits into the double play. Uribe has now grounded into 10 double plays this year, so that puts the blocks to the inning, and that will bring up A.J. Ellis with a runner at third. 6-4-3 DP. That takes care of Van Slyke, advances Kemp to third, and A.J. Ellis coming up. A.J. Ellis hitting .267 against left-handers and .190 for the year. Right-handers really bring him down. So Kemp at third with 2 out. Ellis hitting only .170 against right-handers. Wilson set, here he comes, and the first pitch is hit to center and shallow. Kendrick out, coming in is Mike Trout to make the catch. So the Dodgers blow a golden opportunity, the double play. Put the brakes to it, so it's time for Ryu to go back to work. And at the end of an inning and a half, no score. We go to the bottom of the second inning. It'll be Josh Hamilton followed by Howie Kendrick and then David Freese. Hamilton finished up the game last night striking out and going 0 for 4. With a big left-hand batter, always dangerous, has hit as many as 43 home runs and takes ball 1. So 1-0 to Josh. Big fella, gives you a great strike zone. 6'4", checks in at about 240. And the next pitch, a big long swing and a miss. So 1-1 the count to Josh Hamilton, who has hit as many as 43 home runs. He has knocked in as many as 128 runs batted in. And Ryu's 1-1 pitch is swung on and fouled at the plate, and the count 1-2. Josh out of Raleigh, North Carolina, 33 years old, turned that in May. 4 years ago, the first American leaguer to hit .359 with 40 doubles, 30 home runs, and 100 RBIs. he takes low and away. Doing all that in a single season. That's the first time that had happened, and the only time since 1934 when it was done by a first baseman by the name of Lou Gehrig, the Iron Horse of the Yankees. 2-2 pitch on the way to Josh. Fastball roll to the right side. Plenty of time for Turner, and he makes the play, but almost, I'll tell you what, almost took too long. Hamilton, a big man, but runs very, very well. Take another look on a routine ground ball. Justin sailed it over, and look at that. I mean, he was coming fast, to his credit. So one away. Justin Turner, who's played everywhere on the infield, now playing the same position that the wonderful Howie Kendrick has played for all his years with the Angels. Howie, one of the consistent, solid players in the game. And the right-hand hitter takes high and away, ball one. Kendrick has been with the Angels since 2006. Well over 1,100 base hits. And the 1-0 pitch on the way. Ryu delivers, fastball at 91 for a strike, and the count 1-1. Kendrick has hit as many as 18 home runs and has knocked in as many as 75. Swings, chopper to third. Uribe, a tricky hop, throws quickly and gets him. That ball looked like it was just a bouncer to third, but on that big bounce, it veered towards the bag. And Uribe, without breaking stride, stayed with it and made it look easy. Big high bounce, and then it went to his throwing side, and he kind of backhanded it and got rid of it. So we have two down on ground balls. And the batter now, David Freese. Freese, who has the thrill of having hit a walk-off home run in the World Series. Great memories in St. Louis. Takes an off-speed pitch, a change at 72, but it misses. 1 ball and no strikes. No score, 2 out, bases empty, bottom of the second inning. Ryu rocks, turns, here he comes, shoots a fastball in there. Hyun-Jin Ryu, 12 wins, 5 losses, 3-game winning streak. He's beaten San Diego, Pittsburgh, and San Francisco. And the team also won a game that he pitched. He had no decision. 2-1 the count to David Freese. Ryu's pitch count, well, the last game was 108. His high, 109 back in May. 2-1 pitch is fouled away, upstairs off to the right. Great bare hand catch up there, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. So David Freese trying to find a new home here after he had spent so many years with the Cardinals. David originally drafted by the Padres, but made it to the big leagues with the Birds. 2-2 pitch, chased and missed, and down he goes. So Ryu works one low, Freese goes fishing, and down go the Angels. And at the end of 2, Dodgers nothing, Angels nothing. A reminder, be sure to bring the family to Dodger Stadium Sunday, August 17th at 1 p.m. First 15,000 kids 14 and under in attendance receive their very own Dodger lunchbox, compliments of Farmer John. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Miguel Rojas, followed by Justin Turner and then Yasiel Puig. Dodgers able to strengthen their club defensively by playing Rojas, resting Hanley Ramirez, who is the designated hitter. Miguel batting .200. C.J. Wilson ready, and the first pitch is a little low. Ball 1, 1-0. Rojas, a marvelous infielder. We can back that statement up as he takes ball 2. Rojas has committed 2 errors in 228 career innings at second, third, and short. Now the 2-ball, no strike count pitch. Wilson turns, C.J. back, and he's high and away, ball 3. So he starts off wobbly, 3-0. Waiting on deck, Justin Turner and then Yasiel Puig. No score, top of the third. C.J. looks down to Iannetta. Chris shuffling the cards behind the plate. Now the 3-0 pitch on the way, taken for a strike, and the count 3-1. We were talking about Wilson reading a lot of books and other things. He learned how to cook. And then one winter, he is so inquisitive, his 3-1 pitch foul back. One winter, Wilson spent several hours in a Southwest Airlines flight simulator to learn how to land a 737. He has also learned with spare time martial arts and even how to spin records as a disc jockey. So he is quite an interesting young man. C.J. Wilson, and his pitch is a high chopper up along first. Wilson picks it up and makes the tag on a sliding headfirst Rojas. Well, C.J. handles it, goes to first. Rojas trying to get under the tag, going head first, and he is tagged instead. C.J. picks it, trying to head him off, and finally makes the tag. Rojas on a belly whopper. So 1 away here in the third inning, and the batter is Justin Turner. Rojas huffing and puffing back in the dugout. Iannetta out to talk to the left-hander. What else can we tell you about C.J. Wilson? Well, he's immersed himself in photography, in dancing, oil painting, music, learning to play guitar and piano. He is also a certified personal trainer. I mean, we could go on and on with this fella out of Newport Beach and Huntington Beach. And his first pitch high and away to Turner. 1 ball and no strikes. Justin struck out in the first inning, called out. Takes a look at a pitch tight to the hands. 2 balls and no strikes, the count. Turner, invaluable, came in hitting .314, and he's played very well wherever they played him. 2-0 with 1 out, third inning, no score, bases empty. C.J. both feet on the rubber, looks down to Iannetta. Now he's ready, and the 2-0 pitch taken away, ball 3. 3-0 the count. He hit a batter, Van Slyke, in the second inning, but then he got the double play from Juan Uribe. This time he has Puig waiting on deck. 3-0 to Turner. 1 out, third inning. Wilson ready, left-hander's 3-0 pitch in for a strike. Another thing, we understand he speaks Spanish, some Italian, some Japanese, and he's writing a novel. The 3-1 pitch is a little low, ball 4. So Turner draws the walk. And the Dodgers now have Yasiel Puig coming up. He grounded a single to center in the first inning. Puig gets a hero's welcome, of course. Yep, mixed reaction, and of course that's the sign of a hero. So Puig checking in now after that ground ball single to the left of Ibar that went out into left center field. Wilson ready, and the pitch to Yasiel is swung on and foul back, and the count, no balls and one strike. CJ planting the left foot on the rubber, and Puig backs out for a moment, looks down at Lorenzo Bundy. Justin Turner doesn't figure to be a threat running. However, he's a perfect 3 for 3. Wilson delivers, and the pitch is inside at the thighs, and the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. We're in the third. No score, 1 out. Turner held on at first by Cron. Pujols the DH tonight. And the 1-1 pitch, fastball hit late, but it's stuffed into the hole, gets by Kendrick, and Puig is aboard. Kendrick was off to his right to fill up the middle, and Puig was jammed. He couldn't get around on that and rolled it into the hole and gets a base hit. So Puig, of course, will take it. You don't throw the little ones back. But, boy, he was really handcuffed. Kendrick tried to come back to get it and couldn't make the play. So the Dodgers now have runners at first and second with 1 out. And the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. Kendrick acting a little frustrating at himself. And here's Gonzalez. So the Dodgers had Puig on in the first inning. They had 2 on and nobody out in the second. Now they have 2 on and 1 out in the third. No score. Adrian waiting, and the first pitch outside, ball 1. Gonzalez struck out in the first inning. Adrian hit 1 ball very hard last night, and Kendrick took a hit away from him. No score in the third. Dodgers threatening for the second time. Wilson delivers and shoots it low and away, and he's behind, 2 balls and no strike. They told you his ratio of strikeouts to walks 2-1. Mike Scioscia now gesturing, hollering. There's a beach ball loose in right field. Scioscia asking for time, wisely so. Mike's eyes are everywhere. 2-0 to count to Adrian Gonzalez. Dodgers are 17-32 in the games played here. At home, the Dodgers and Angels have split 50. So Adrian waiting. Turner at second, Puig at first with 1 out. Wilson delivers, and it is swung on and missed. The pitch down and in under the hands. So Adrian walks off trying to think about pitches. 2-1 to count. Again, Turner, who walked, is now at second base. Puig with the infield single at first. 1 away. No score. Top of the third. Wilson ready, looks back at second. Now comes to the plate, and he is low and away. Ball 3. Waiting on deck, the Dodger DH, Hanley Ramirez. Wilson head-to-head with a challenge now. 2 on and 1 out. Double play hit into by Uribe. Got him out of a jam in the second inning. Here's the 3-1 pitch to Gonzalez. And he takes inside, ball 4. And the Dodgers have loaded the bases with 1 out.
2 walks and a single, so Mike Butcher on his way out there to talk to CJ. Hanley Ramirez, who hit back to the box in the first inning, coming up. For Hanley Ramirez, his numbers, he's done very well against left-handers, 293, 266 against right-handers, and breaking down his 12 home runs, he has 4 against left-hand pitching. We have said it for quite a while, the worst thing the Dodgers can do is load the bases. They hit 155 with the bases loaded. That's the worst in the major leagues. So here they are again in a familiar and frustrating situation. So Turner, Puig, and Gonzalez are out there with 1 down. And Hanley Ramirez waits. CJ at the belt and delivers. Slow pitch and misses for ball 1. That thing came up at 76 miles an hour. 56 RBIs for Hanley and 12 home runs. They're all out there for him. Turner, Puig, and Gonzalez. Wilson out of a stretch now. No score. 3rd inning. Dodgers threatening. The pitch to Hanley is swung on and banged into left center. In comes Turner. Here comes Puig. Over to third goes Gonzalez, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. Well, Hanley Ramirez delivers as he bangs one into center. There was no real play for Trout. So 2 runs scored. Gonzalez able to go to third. Dodgers still in business with 1 out. And the batter will be Matt Kemp. So it started the walk to Turner, the infield single for Puig, the walk to Gonzalez, and the line drive single by Hanley Ramirez to chase home Turner and Puig. Now Matt Kemp, single to left, broke his bat in the 2nd inning. And remember, he usually does whatever he's going to do within 3 pitches. So let's see what happens now. Wilson set, checks the runners, and the first pitch low and away, ball 1. No one throwing in the Angel bullpen. A little early for that. Top of the 3rd. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Wilson with a 6-game winning streak here at home. And his 1-0 pitch on the way is taken low again. So Kemp with the count his way, 2 balls and no strikes. The Dodgers struggle for whatever reason against left-handers at home, but on the road they are 11-3. At home, a break-even 7-7. So Kemp trying to really cash in the inning. 2-0 to Matt. Wilson checks the runners at the corners. Fastball outside. Ball 3. Waiting on deck, Scott Van Slyke, who was hit by a pitch in the 2nd inning. Wilson looks down to Iannetta. Down the line from third is Gonzalez. Away from first, Ramirez. And the pitch to Matt Kemp is taken for a strike. So Matt up there for 5 pitches, 3-1 the count. And for Wilson, he's now made 54 pitches. CJ heaving a sigh. Now the left-hander ready. 3-1 pitch, fastball lifted to right field. Cowgill is there, tagging up Gonzalez. Cowgill left-hand thrower. It's cut off, and they now have Ramirez for a tag by Ibar. However, the run scores, and the Dodgers have plated 3 in the 3rd inning. So the Dodgers pick up 3, and at the end of 2.5 innings, they lead the Angels 3-0. To the bottom of the third inning as the DH, Hanley Ramirez, singles in 2. Matt Kemp has a sac fly, and the Dodgers 3 runs and 4 hits. 26 pitches made by C.J. Wilson. So he's made 55 pitches already in 3 innings. Chris Iannetta will start it off, hitting .267. Right-hand hitting catcher takes off the plate, ball 1. 1-0 the count to Chris. Ryu back, slips it in there nicely at 80. 1-1 the count. Ryu fell behind to 5 of the 6 hitters that he has faced. A changeup rolled up the middle. Rojas, a good pick. The throw, got it. Well, that's the advantage of the DH. Hanley Ramirez could not make that play, but Rojas can. So Miguel going sharply to his left to throw out the catcher Iannetta, and we have 1 away. The batter now hitting 8th, C.J. Cron. As we take another look on television, close play, but it would have been a base hit, except for Rojas. Get back to the point we made. Ryu faced the first 6 batters, fell behind to 5 of them, and retired the side anyway. And he starts Cron off with a strike, and the count 0-1. C.J. Cron appeared as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning last night and had a base hit. Strike 1 pitch is high, 1 ball and 1 strike. The C.J. stands for Christopher John. 24 years old, out of Phoenix, Arizona. Went to the University of Utah. Cron taps the ball. It will be picked up by Ellis, and the out recorded. I think Cron might have been out anyway because it looked like he was running inside the lane. So with 2 down, Cole and Cowgill will be coming up. 8 in a row retired by Ryu. Remember last night, Dan Herron retired 16 in a row before finally giving up a couple of base hits in the 6th inning. Colin Cowgill out of Lexington, Kentucky, hitting a solid .278. The Angels figure he is a thoroughbred. 5 home runs, 16 runs batted in. Looks at a strike, and the count 0-1. In Kentucky, when Colin was in high school, he was Mr. Baseball and the Louisville Slugger Player of the Year. And he takes high on his hit on the shoulder. And so Cowgill will become the first Angel runner hit by a pitch. Dan Slyke hit by a pitch in the 2nd inning. So Colin at first, 2 out in the 3rd. Pitch came in, got him on that front shoulder. So Cowgill at first, and Eric Ibar will be the first hitter to face Ryu out of the stretch. Ibar grounded to short in the 1st inning, 0 for 1. Ryu delivers and cuts it in for a strike at 80. No balls and 1 strike the count. We'll repeat the news in case you missed it. The Dodgers acquired right-hander Roberto Hernandez from the Phillies. The strike 1 pitch on the way. Ibar looks in it low, 1-1. Roberto Hernandez right now has already landed in Chicago. He's driving to Milwaukee, and he will be pitching for the Dodgers tomorrow night against the first-place Brewers. Brewers beat the Giants today 3-1. Throw to first, not in time. Who is going to leave to make room for Hernandez? We have to wait and see. You get the feeling it might be Josh Beckett, who has had physical problems, especially a bad hip. We have no idea, nor is there any word forthcoming until tomorrow. Ground ball hit slowly. Rojas up with it, throws on the run on a bounce, and Gonzalez makes the catch. Rojas got more on that throw than we imagined. He still couldn't get it there on the fly, but it was a wonderful throw, and Adrian was able to stay with it. Rojas going away from the play, and he was still able to fire it over in time. And at the end of 3-0 Dodgers. By the all-new Chrysler 200, America's import. We go to the fourth inning with the Dodgers leading 3-0, picking up the 3 in the third inning. And now in the fourth inning, the Dodgers trying to add to it. Hyun-Jin Ryu, resting, has made 34 pitches, has allowed 1 runner, and that was the hit batter, Cowgill, and no hits. Scott Van Slyke, hit by the pitch, will start it off. Then Juan Uribe and A.J. Ellis. We keep telling you about C.J. Wilson because he is such an interesting guy. I mean, he's 1 in a million when you keep talking about the things he has studied, the things he has learned. And if you don't mind, we'll keep ducking in a few more. C.J. allowing the 3 runs in the third inning. He's made 56 pitches now as he gets a strike. 0-1 the count. Where were we? Well, we mentioned that he studied Eastern philosophy, including Taoism. The strike 1 pitch is low, 1-1. He is very active on Twitter. Oh, boy. He is also the only big leaguer that we know of following the Dalai Lama. The next pitch in for a strike. CJ has worked out with Olympic athletes, NFL players, mixed martial arts fighters, done what they call focus and pain aversion exercises with Navy SEALs. And with all of that, he strikes out Scott Van Slyke. So 1 out in the fourth. Van Slyke hit by a pitch and strikes out. 3 strikeouts for CJ. And Juan Uribe coming up. Uribe banged into a double play. Three runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers, nothing for the Angels. The left-hander delivers inside. Just missed hitting Uribe in the leg. 1 ball and no strikes. On deck, A.J. Ellis. By the way, there's always a feeling of anticipation when an exciting player is coming up. Changeup is high, 2-0 the count. So in the bottom of the fourth inning, it will be Trout, Pujols, and Hamilton. 1 out, top of the fourth, 3-0 Dodgers. Fastball right where Ibar was set for him. 2 down. Like real estate, location is everything, and Ibar didn't have to move. A.J. Ellis flied to center in the second inning. A.J. checking in. To repeat, the Angels will have Trout, who popped up, Pujols, who fly to left, and Hamilton, who grounded out, coming up in the bottom of the fourth. And the pitch to A.J. in for a strike. 0-1. A.J. struggling, came into the game at 194, so his average has dropped down to about 184. And he hits a roller to third. On it easily is David Freese. Throws him out. So the Dodgers, after getting 3 in the third inning, go out 1-2-3 in the fourth. So as A.J. goes back to put on the gear, we'll be going to the bottom of the fourth. 3-0 Dodgers. To nothing lead into the bottom of the fourth inning. Well, remember, he's a two-time All-Star, Cy Young winner, Silver Slugger Award winner, and you can be one of the first 50,000 in attendance Wednesday, August 20th, and you'll receive a Zach Greinke bobblehead, compliments of Las Vegas. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. All right, here comes the birthday boy. Mike Trout to lead it off. Trout popped a short in the first inning. As we mentioned earlier, he's homered in each of his 2 Major League birthdays, and a strike. 0-1. The only player in history with 80 or more home runs, 80 or more stolen bases before turning 23. 1-1. Both teams are blessed. The Angels have Trout. The Dodgers have Puig. 2 young fellas who figure to dazzle the baseball world for years to come. 2-1 the count. Yasiel, who always seems to be stretching when he's hitting, he beats himself with the bat. But you can't really take your eyes off him, and the same story with Mike Trout. 2 balls, 1 strike. Ball 3. Waiting on deck, Albert Pujols. 3-1 pitch. Fouled away, 3-2. Mike Trout 0 for 1 tonight. He was 0 for 4 last night. That's 0 for 5. He had 2 hits to make him 2 for 9. Herron shut him down last night. And down he goes. So he is 3 for 13 in the series so far against the Dodger pitchers. So 1 away in the 4th inning. For Hyun-Jin Ryu, that would be his 2nd strikeout, and the batter will be Albert Pujols. Albert is still Albert. Some of the best contact plus power hitting you'll see. He puts the ball in play at least 48% when he swings. The average in the league is about 40. 1 ball and no strikes. Breaking ball strike. Pujols also hits the ball hard. 22% of his bats, and the league average is 16%. So he's in the top 25 in both categories. Ground foul. 1-2 to Albert Pujols. 1 out in the 4th. Pujols flied to left, reasonably deep, caught by Van Slyke. Josh Hamilton on deck. Albert started the night hitting .275. And line drive caught by Uribe. Oh, you talk about climbing the ladder. That was an elevator to get that high so quickly and react. Pujols kind of looks over at him. Uribe does a little applause. Look at this. I mean, that thing was ripped. And Uribe, as high as could go, somehow reacts to it. It amazes me how quickly they can react. So 2 out in the 4th inning. And the batter is Josh Hamilton. And a strike. Dodgers lead 3-0. Bottom of the 4th inning. Off the plate, 1-1. Hamilton rolled out to the right side to Justin Turner. Under the elbows. 2-1. Hunjin works quickly. And misses ball 3. That fastball at 94. Ryu is 12-5. 24 walks and 111 strikeouts going into the game. Ground foul. 3-2. Somewhat of a late arriving crowd because it looks about full now. Traffic on a Thursday night pretty difficult. Last night 43-6, and from the looks of things they have that, maybe even a little more tonight. 3-2 to Hamilton. Swung on and missed. 3rd strikeout for Ryu. He's now faced 13 batters, has not allowed a hit. He did hit Howell. Otherwise, the Angels have not had a base runner, and it's 3-0 Dodgers. have their glove as well as their bat. Miguel Rojas playing shortstop and coming up with a couple of dazzling plays. So the Dodgers with the glove of Rojas and the bat of Ramirez as the DH put it all together, and the Dodgers lead 3-0. Rojas, not much with the bat, but that's not what he's here for. Hitting .198, a home run, 6 runs batted in. Ramirez, meanwhile, as the DH, had the base hit to drive in 2. And then Kemp had the sacrifice fly to drive in the 3rd. So you can have it all in some ways in the American League. 5th inning, 3-0 Dodgers. Rojas, Turner, and Puig. Showing bunt and a strike, 0-1. Comebacker. CJ stays with it. And we have 1 out in the 5th inning. Justin Turner coming up. Turner struck out in the 1st inning, but he worked Wilson for a walk in the 3rd and was able to score 1 of the 3 runs in the 3rd. Hitting .312. 3 home runs, 23 runs batted in. We're in the 5th inning, 1 out. 5 in a row now retired by C.J. Wilson. Right. Wilson with a 6-game winning streak here at home. He had faced the Dodgers 3 games, a total of 12 innings. No record in the 12 innings. He gave up 7 runs, however. 1-1. Came into the game 8 wins and 7 losses. Ball 2. Through this year, Turner day in and day out doing that great job. Facing a ground ball pitcher, very much a ground ball pitcher. Wilson averaging out 1.5 ground balls to every fly balls. That's the strike. Couple of things about Wilson with Puig waiting on deck. The Angels have turned 16 double plays for him, including tonight on Uribe. He is bothered by a lot of infield singles. Puig got the infield single in that 3rd inning. He's given up 24 hits on the infield. Dodgers loaded the bases. He's had to face the bases loaded situation 15 times. And there goes Turner again. Line drive single. Boy, what a year Justin Turner is having for the Dodgers. High bar about 5'10", not tall enough to reach that line drive. And here comes Puig. Yasiel is 2 for 2 tonight. Single sharply in the 1st inning. In the 3rd inning, he could not get around on a pitch. Hit a ground ball to the right side, but to the hole. Kendrick, who plays him up the middle, tried to come back and get it and couldn't quite make the play. So Yasiel 2 for 2, hitting .320. Fastball, high pop foul. Cron over. CJ with the play and makes the catch. So Puig impatient, going after the first pitch. Fouls out. 2 down in the inning, and Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Adrian struck out in the first inning, walked in the third. Coming into this game, Gonzalez was hitting .538 against Wilson with a couple of doubles, 7 for 13. Takes a strike. Dodgers losing the taste, it appeared, of the champagne bubbles when they lost 2 out of 3 to the Cubs. But overall, they've won 9 of the last 12 they played. 0-2. When the Angels come up in the bottom of the 5th inning trying to support Wilson, it'll be Kendrick, Freese, and Iannetta. 2 out, 0-2 to Adrian. Fouled away. Pretty big gap at the shortstop hole. You have the third baseman Freese, but you have Ibar way over to the left. The 6th hole, that was dominated throughout his career by Tony Gwynn. It was as if he had a magical wand. Tony would always find that hole. 0-2. Kendrick is deep, playing second base at the rim and near the hole on the other side. Turner, who is 3 for 3 in stolen bases, doesn't do much running. Tonight, Justin is leading off, giving D. Gordon a well-deserved rest. Gordon has played in 109 games while stealing 51. And did that hit him? No, it hit the bat. With almost 2 for 1 on that pitch. And it's still 0-2. A little close for comfort on a check swing. Up there. I wasn't sure if that got his hand or not. He's fortunate it didn't nail him. No balls and 2 strikes to Adrian Gonzalez. Pitch count running up now. Wilson has made 77 pitches. Very high. Garrett Richards, when he shut down the Dodgers, he made 122 pitches in that game. 1-2. And down he goes. So Adrian strikes out a second time. Dodgers lead Turner at first, and we're heading to the bottom of the 5th inning with the Dodgers leading 3-0.
By Subway. Try this month's $6 featured footlong, the barbecued oven roasted chicken melt. Subway. Eat fresh.
Such a great series, even the moon wants to sneak a look as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning with the Dodgers leading 3-0. It'll be Howie Kendrick followed by David Freese and then Chris Iannetta. Change up for ball 1. Kendrick grounded to third in the 2nd inning. CJ has made 79 pitches, 51 pitches for Ryu. 1 hopper. Miguel cranks it up, throws him out. So with 1 down in the 5th inning, David Freese struck out in the 2nd inning. Only man to have gotten aboard by the Angels tonight was Colin Cowgill, who was hit on the left shoulder in the 3rd inning. A drive to right center field, and that's in the gap. That's going to go to the scoreboard. Picked up out there by Puig. Gets it back into second base, not in time. So David Freese with 1 out in the 5th inning wakes up the ballpark a little bit with a double to right center. You know, in this ballpark, starting in the left field foul pole, the wall is 8 feet high. But when you get to right center where he hits the ball, that wall is now 18 feet high, the original wall, and then they added 10 more feet. That was back in 1998. It is a big ballpark, big dimensions. Iannetta 0 for 1. The dimensions here at Angel Stadium, 347 down the left field line, falls away to 390, 396 in center, 365 in straightaway right, and 350 right down the line. And the 8-foot fence plus the 18-footer from right center to the bullpen. No balls and 1 strike. Off the plate. So Ryu finally, for the 2nd time, pitching out of a stretch. He has struck out 3 and hit a batter. One and 2. Chris from Providence, Rhode Island. Good, solid player. You remember when he was with Colorado. Fastball missed, and it got up there in a hurry at 91. Chris was a 4th-round pick out of the University of North Carolina. Big fella at 230 pounds. 2 and 2. Ground ball wide of third, picked there by Rojas. Winds up and nailing. Over to third goes Freese. And with 2 down, the batter will be C.J. Cron. So Freese at third. Cron trying to pick him up. It's 3-0 Dodgers in the bottom of the 5th inning. Christopher John Cron, C-R-O-N. 1st-round pick by the Angels, 2011. Change in for a strike, 72 miles an hour. He's a really big fella, 6'4", 235. Really didn't take long for Cron to be here, considering the fact he started in 2011 and only played 34 games. Spent 20-some-odd games at Salt Lake, and now he's here. Foul back. Cron's father a former player, now a manager in the Tigers organization. He was a good player, not a great one, but he did do well. Did his father at Double-A and Triple-A for a couple of years. Down he goes. 4 strikeouts for Hyun-Jin Ryu. For the Angels, no runs, 1 hit, their only hit. And at the end of 5, 3-0 Dodgers. It was a great day for a great player. Sandy Koufax, in his first year of eligibility and at the tender age of 36, went into the Hall of Fame. You probably know he won 111 games, and he also had 4 no-hitters, including the perfect game. You might not know the pain in which he pitched. It got so that his arm started to bend. He couldn't extend it. And with all that pain, his final year, he won 27 games. Let's go back to this one. Sandy actually decided to quit because of the fact he couldn't extend his left arm, and he kept thinking of a lifetime of playing golf. And he thought, the more this arm fails to straighten out, the less I can play. But imagine his final year aching, and he wins 27. He was special. Here's Ramirez, then Kemp and Van Slyke. That's lifted foul off first, down the line, slicing back in amongst the customers. Hyun-Jin Ryu, through his 5 innings, has only made 62 pitches and allowed 1 hit. What Ryu is doing tonight is a little different. He's pitching on 4 days rest. He's normally far more effective 5 days rest. In fact, in Hyun-Jin's career, 4 days rest, he is 9-8. 5 days rest, he is 11-2. 6 days, 6-3. 2-1 to Hanley Ramirez. Hanley had the big hit with the bases loaded, single to center to drive in 2. Then Matt Kemp had the soaring fly ball, and that got Gonzalez home. 3-0 Dodgers in the 6th. Fastball fouled away. Wilson last year was 17-7. He's 8-7 right now, so it's a big difference. And strike 3 with Hanley ready to go to first. 5 strikeouts for C.J. Wilson, and 2 in a row. Take a look. Fastball looked like it was right down the middle. Caught a portion of the plate, and he's rung up. Now Matt Kemp. Interesting this year what's happened to Kemp numerically. In the 41 games he played in center field, he hit .273. When he went to left field, home runs fell off, RBIs increased, and he hit .278. And when they turned him into right field, he found a home again. In 15 games as a right fielder, Matt has 5 home runs, 14 runs batted in. Yasiel moved from right to center, and it seems to have really paid off. Kemp tonight singled and had that sac fly. It was a tough assignment for Mattingly, knowing somebody had to sit down, but it seems to work. Crawford plays left. Van Slyke plays left against left-handers. And Ethier, not the forgotten man, but you just can't play 4 outfielders. So Van Slyke has put up good numbers against left-hand pitching. That's in there. To give you an idea, Van Slyke playing against left-handers, Ethier's hitting only .190 against left-hand pitching. And that's ball 4. Well, for CJ, who's been behind all night, he is struggling. He's had 8 3-ball counts. Only once has he really been ahead of a hitter. No balls, 2 strikes. He has managed to strike out 5, but Mike Butcher's on the phone, and somebody will get up in the Angel pen. Van Slyke hit by a pitch and struck out. 0 for 1. And Scotty pops it up, coming into right field. Kendrick out, Cowgill in, and we have 2 down. Corey Rasmus, a right-hander, begins to loosen up in the Angel pen, and the batter will be Juan Uribe. Uribe quiet with the bat, but made a sensational catch of the line drive hit by Albert Pujols in the 4th inning. Why is C.J. Wilson 8-7 when he was 17-7 last year? Well, he'll have to keep an eye on Matt Kemp as we look up why. Right. His earned run average is higher, 40% higher than last year. In last year, Hank Conger caught him, and his earned run average was 3.3 with Conger the catcher. This year with Conger, his earned run average is over 5. So tonight they sit Conger and they play Iannetta. 0-1. We're in the 6th inning. Dodgers lead 3-0. Cowgill, Ibar, and Trout due up in the bottom of the 6th. And there goes Kemp on a hit-and-run drive into right center, and Kemp under a full head of steam will score easily. Trout gets the ball back in on a double by Juan Uribe, and the Dodgers lead 4-0. So Juan Uribe, a long double, run batted in. Matt going on the pitch, and Uribe found the gap in right center field. Trout was overshifted a little towards the left center and never had a play. So 4-0 Dodgers on 6 hits. Kemp brings it in. CJ with the Angels shut down for just 1 hit on very thin ice now coming out. Ellis takes a strike on the fastball. No balls and 1 strike. Another interesting and somewhat confounding thing about C.J. Wilson. We told you that he's been behind on 8 hitters. His big problem this year, he's struggling when he's ahead in the count. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fastball fouled off. That'll be back in the crowd. 96 pitches now made by C.J. Wilson. His walks have all been cashed in. He walked Turner, who scored. He walked Gonzalez, who scored. He walked Kemp, who scored. Dodgers had 1, and for Mike Scioscia, a frustrating time, rather exhilarating for Messrs. Kemp and Gordon, etc. They're on their way to Milwaukee, knowing the Giants lost today. Throw back to second base. Ibar, the shortstop. Little collision with Uribe. And then Uribe kicks Ibar in the shins. That was funny. Keep an eye on it. We'll see if you can catch it. The throw down, not in time, but the story's not over. Ibar has to get up, looking at Uribe. Now, Eric gets up. Keep your eye on Uribe. There you got it. That is so typical of Uribe. 2-2 the count. Fastball. Wow. It looked like A.J. thought that was strike 3. That's an embarrassment for Brian Knight. A.J. keeps a straight face, as if to say, I knew it was ball 3. Uribe at second with 2 out. Fastball. Normally you'd look at your scorebook and you'd say, well, the pitcher will be coming out. He's due up first in the next inning. But of course the pitchers never due up in the American League. So it's Cowgill followed by Ibar and then Trout. 3-2 to A.J. Ellis. And now he gets ball 4. And that'll be enough, I think. Mike Scioscia has exercised his patience, and he goes to the pen. So for C.J. Wilson, who was 8-7, and he had a 6-game winning streak at home, and he is just not sharp enough tonight. So they're going to the pen, and we'll be right back. The box. Try Jack's Spicy Chicken Club combo at Jack in the Box with fries and a drink while it lasts. Dodgers leading the Angels 4-0. Corey Rasmus, 26-year-old right-hander. He'll be 27 in November. Lives in Phoenix City, that's Alabama. But he was born in Columbus, Georgia. He's an even six, about 200 pounds. Graduate of Russell County High School. His father, interestingly enough, his father's name was Tony, and his dad was drafted by the Angels way back in 1986. Played 3 years in the Angel farm system. The other brother you might know as you look at a very disappointed, downcast, and frustrated C.J. Wilson. His other brother, Colby, is now with the Toronto Blue Jays. Colby Rasmussen has been around quite a while. So good genes, and Corey Rasmus checks in. Miguel Rojas, 0-for-2, hitting 195. Dodgers lead 4-0. They have two on. Uribe at second, Ellis at first. Breaking ball off the plate, ball one. Angels just came back off the road. While they were out on the road, Rasmus made 3 appearances. CJ suffering the pangs of a pitcher knocked out of a game. 1 ball, no strikes. Fastball, ball 2. Last Thursday night, he struck out 4 in 2 innings, 2 scoreless innings. That was at Baltimore. His earned run average in the month of July, wow, 0.69. Corey Rasmus, meanwhile, Hyun-Jin Ryu threw his 5 innings, has allowed 1 hit and hit a batter. Fastball popped in the air, back of first, down the line. Cron in foul ground, and that's that. So the Dodgers score 1 and lead 2, and we're heading to the bottom of the 6th inning, 4-0 Dodgers. And a reminder, be sure to bring your friends and family to Dodger Stadium. That's Saturday, August 16th for baseball and a movie. The final date in the Dodger Stadium movie series featuring the classic baseball film, The Natural. The movie screening will begin after the game against the Brewers. For more information and tickets, be sure to visit Dodgers.com/movies. Hyun-Jin Ryu has allowed 2 base runners. He had retired 8 in a row when he hit Cowgill. Then he turned around and retired 5 in a row, and he gave up a double to David Freese. So now he gets Cowgill, followed by Abar, and then Trout. Ball 1. CJ went 5 2/3 innings, made 100 pitches, and gave up 4 runs and 6 hits. Right. Wilson's problem, lack of control. He walked 4, struck out 5, but every time he walked a batter, that batter scored. 1-1 to Cowgill. And he promptly hits a hopper out on the grass with Rojas, and it's safe. Oh, what a play by Miguel. Gonzalez staring at first base umpire Manny Gonzalez. The one Gonzalez to the other. What an effort by Miguel Rojas. Mattingly looked like he said he thought he was out. Take another look. And here comes Mattingly to protest. Yeah, this is a good angle because you won't lose the ball in the glove. There's the bounce, catch. Wow. That cuts it close. And Mattingly has asked for an official review. Mattingly didn't really need anyone to have other feelings. You could read his lip. He was out. He just said that to Wallach. As we always say, and we say it with meaning, every time there is an official review, you realize a tribute to the umpire. I mean, we can show the play from every angle. We can slow it down. We can make it do everything but stand on its head. And the umpire, whoever, has one shot to call it. Look at this. Wow. And here in the ballpark, the fans, there are those who think safe, those who think out. So some anxious Dodgers waiting for the call from New York. Adrian talking to Cowgill and also to former Dodger Alfredo Griffin. So remember, Manny Gonzalez had a millisecond to decide safe or out. That's how tough the umpire's job is. And you realize what a great job they do game in and game out. Now Manny, you see on his knee, not quite sure whether he could see the ball in Gonzalez's glove. Mattingly got some reassurance from out. Yeah. A great play by Miguel Rojas to throw out Colin Cowgill. What a play. 6-3. Highlight that one in your scorebook. One hopper, Rojas on the grass. Set, throws. One way or another, a team would be disappointed on a play like that. In this case, the Angels are disappointed. So 1 out. Eric Ibar coming up. Shows bunt. Takes ball 1. One and 0 to Ibar. That's 10 hitters where Ryu has missed the first pitch. And behind now 2-0. Now the other 9 have gone 0 for 9. Now that Cowgill was retired. So Mattingly in a chance to pick up a game on the Giants. Remember, they lost 3-1. Well, here's Ryu behind again now. 3-0 to Eric Ibar. For the moment, Dodgers lead by 3. It could go to 3.5 or revert back to 2.5. In there. 3-1. Hyun-Jin Ryu with a 3-game winning streak, and Eric Ibar. Another strike. Ibar 0 for 2 in his career. He has 70 base hits against the National League with The birthday boy on deck, foul back. The old story, when you're hitting in front of an outstanding hitter, you're going to get a lot of fastballs to try not to walk you. It's 4-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 6th, 1 out. Oh, Eric's still there. Ibar has been a solid fixture at shortstop. Tried very hard to imitate Rafael Furcal. Furcal had 115 bunt singles. Ibar on his trail, but that's outside, so here comes Mike Trout with a runner at first. First walk given up by Ryu. He did hit Cowgill, and he's allowed the double to David Freese. So here's Mike hitting .300. Trout's the only player to hit 30 or more home runs, steal at least 40 bases in his rookie season. Interestingly enough, strike. Mike Trout's first big league hit was in his 4th career at bat. He bunted for a base hit against the Mariners. He's gone a long way from a bunt. 235 pounds and runs like the wind. Breaking ball low. Ryu has gotten 9 ground ball outs, and 6 of the 9 have been handled by Miguel Rojas. Fastball missed. 2-1. On deck, Albert Pujols. Trout's one of those kids who does everything well. When he was in high school, he pitched a no-hitter. Little ground ball to third. Uribe to second for 1. No chance at first. That brings up the question, does Trout ever hit into a double play? And yes, he grounded into 4. So the force play brings up Albert Pujols. If you are a bowler, and if you take the game seriously, one other note about Mike Trout. He once bowled a .268. Perfect bowling score, of course, 300. Pujols fly deep to left, and then in the 4th inning crushed the ball, and somehow Uribe leaped in the air and one-handed it. Right. Albert, 21 home runs, 70 runs batted in. Ryu has to watch Trout. Trout, by the way, like everything else, near perfect. Trout is 12 for 12 in stolen bases. One and one. Line down the left field line, in there. Van Slyke over to pick it up. Trout is to third. Then he'll round third and dive back to the bag on the double by Albert Pujols. Van Slyke had a little trouble trying to run that ball down. So Pujols puts the Angels into scoring position for half the runs they need. Take another look. Albert hits it clean as a whistle in the corner. Van Slyke scoops and then drops the ball and then gets it back in. checking to see. They have not flashed any error. It'll be a double into the corner to put runners at second and third. And now Josh Hamilton with first base open. Ball one. So Ryu has allowed 2 hits, 2 doubles. The Angels get a runner to third for the first time tonight as they try to cut the Dodger lead in half with 2 out. Fouled away. Hamilton grounded to second and struck out 0 for 2. Ryu's pitch count only 82, and he has 2 out. But remember that play by Rojas. Rojas on the grass throwing out Calgill. Otherwise Ryu would be in a lot more trouble. Gonzalez a great pick on the throw in the dirt. 2-1 to Hamilton. Ball 3 with first base open. Howie Kendrick on deck. Well, Rick Honeycutt heading for the foam. Three balls, 1 strike. Fastball and a high fly ball into deep left center. Puig on the track at the wall, makes the catch. Wow. It would not, I believe, be a home run, but it certainly would have hit the very top of an 8-foot fence. The Stallion, the wild horse, has done it again. 4-0 Dodgers. Catch by an incredible young player. Remember, is a left-handed batter, so he had to go from straightaway center. The ball kept fading on him, and he had the wall to contend with, and somehow he stopped what would have been at least a double and 2 runs. So Yasiel Puig gets a salute from his teammates. Naturally, a hit on the head by Juan Uribe, and we go to the 7th. 4-0 Dodgers. Wow. Puig will be up second, and Josh Hamilton left to be frustrated in left field. That was the tough inning for Ryu. He made 23 pitches. 1 away. So Turner taps to third, and now here comes Yasiel. It's pretty hard to be wearing red and stand up and applaud, but the Blues at least fill the gap. Puig tonight 2 for 3, scored a run and prevented 2. Breaking ball, strike, 0-1. C.J. Wilson relieved by Corey Rasmus. No balls, 1 strike. Time. It's kind of a golden time, isn't it, to see 2 absolutely outstanding, highly gifted young players in Mike Trout and Yasiel Puig. Fly ball on a breaking ball. Yasiel Puig is 23. Mike Trout 23 today. Puig will be 24 December the 7th. Oh, wouldn't you know? I mean, wouldn't you know everything about him is a headline? He's born on Pearl Harbor Day. Incredible. 0-2. Fastball. His facial expressions sometimes tell you his thoughts. I think right then he was thinking, that's pretty good fastball, 93. Breaking ball, foul back at first, slicing away into the stands. We're in the 7th inning. Dodgers scored 3 runs in the 3rd, 1 more in the 6th. Puig saved 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th. Josh Hamilton has to be thinking the old expression, so near and yet so far. One and 2. Breaking ball, and he got a little bit of it. Puig muttering to himself. I think he hurt himself a little on that swing. Fastball. Well, Yasiel goes down, and with 2 out, the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. First strikeout for Rasmus. C.J. Wilson had 5. Adrian Gonzalez knows about strikeouts. He struck out twice tonight, walked, and scored a run. Kendrick, Freese, and Iannetta due up in the bottom of the 7th. 0-1. Fastball, check swing. No balls and 2 strikes. Gonzalez came in here with good numbers against C.J. Wilson, but Wilson shut him down this time. He was hitting .538, and Wilson struck him out twice. Now Rasmus in relief. 1-2. 4 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. They've left 5. No runs, 2 hits, no errors for the Angels. They have left 4. Fastball away. 2-2. Waiting on deck, Hanley Ramirez, who had a big hit, singled with the bases loaded to drive in 2 in the 3rd inning. Fastball laced into center. So Adrian goes 1 for 3 plus a walk, and the batter will be Hanley Ramirez. Here's the big 2-run single by Hanley Ramirez. It was a fastball, and he whacked it into slight left center. Crowd over it, cut it off. Scoring on the base hit for big 2. Hanley now with 58 runs batted in, 12 home runs, and it's an American League game for Hanley. He's the DH, and Rojas has been absolutely brilliant defensively at short. That play he made on Cowgill, and that's going to be hit down the left field line, just fair. Let's see about Gonzalez. He is now at third. They'll hold him on a fly ball double by Hanley Ramirez. So the Dodgers with a chance to break it wide open. Matt Kemp will be the batter. Mike Butcher is making his notes. So stalking the Butcher, and let's see. Mike lifts his cap, looking out towards the bullpen as we see Hamilton left-hand the ball in. So a meeting at the mound. Butcher going out to talk to Rasmus. Second and third with 2 out. Gonzalez singles, Ramirez doubles, and here's Kemp. Single to left, had a sacrifice fly and walk. The Mets scored 1 on the double by Uribe and knocked 1 in. Ryu leading 4-0 would certainly not turn down another run or 2. First base open, and Van Slyke on deck. Two on, 2 out. Breaking ball, ball 1. You wonder with a place to put him. Number 1, Kemp might not get a strike. Started him curveball. Fastball. 2-0 the count. Mike South, Mike just hollered, put him on. The timeout. Socha hollering to Iannetta, who looked over to the dugout. Mike held up 4 fingers, so they will walk Kemp. And the batter will be Van Slyke with the bases loaded and 2 out here in the 7th. So the Dodgers tonight have received 5 walks and a hit batter. Now, before he comes up, Van Slyke looks and he gets the answer. Here comes Carl Crawford. So they'll send the left-hander up against the right-hander Rasmus, and then Crawford will stay in the game in left field. Van Slyke 0 for 2. Hit by a pitch, struck out, fly to right. And Crawford coming up. Carl Crawford hitting just .239. As a pinch hitter, he's just 1 for 9. But he's up there now with a chance to break it open. But you know what the Dodgers have been doing this year? Nothing with the bases loaded until tonight. And ball 1. Crawford, in case you were thinking about it, has 4 grand slams. The last one 3 years ago against Texas. So Gonzalez, Ramirez, and Kemp all out there. And that runs it 2-0. The only left-hander that Mike Scioscia had was Joe Thatcher, the veteran left-hander. And Thatcher's on the DL, so Mike is strapped for a left-hand reliever. And a strike. That was why last night and throughout the series, the Dodgers were not worrying about stacking left-handers. They knew Mike had his hands tied. Meanwhile, 2-1 to count to Carl Crawford. Dodgers coming into this game were hitting .155 with the bases loaded. They got the base hit by Ramirez tonight, but now they're challenged again. Standing room only with 2 out. 2-2 to Crawford. And they do it again. So Crawford strikes out. The Dodgers lead 3. And we're heading to the bottom of the 7th inning with the Dodgers leading 4-0. Four to nothing Dodgers. Taking a look at the Dodger calendar, they are just starting on their trip. After this game, they'll fly to Milwaukee, get in the wee small hours, and play tomorrow night, Saturday and Sunday. They also have to go on to Atlanta, though it's a very important road trip. Dodgers leading 4-0, a chance to have a 3.5 game lead to take from Anaheim. Giants lost today 3-1. Jake Peavy suffered the loss. Howie Kendrick, with Carl Crawford having struck out as a pinch hitter, stays in the game to play left field. Kendrick, Freese, and Iannetta. Ryu has only made 87 pitches. One and two. Kendrick grounded to third, grounded to short, 0 for 2. Dodgers have left 8. The Angels have left 4. Ground ball to Rojas. One away. Ryu has the Angels hitting the ball on the ground, and at the other end of it for 7 times now, it's Miguel Rojas. Miguel absolutely outstanding, especially that unbelievable play on Cowgill. He also made a great play on Ibar, and of course the big play as Hanley rests, except for swinging the bat. The big play was Puig making that great running catch, taking away 2 runs as he went up against the wall in deep left center field. Ball hit by Josh Hamilton. 1-1. So the Dodgers defensive gem is really glistening tonight. 2 by Rojas, 1 by Puig, and don't forget the line drive and the leaping catch by Juan Uribe. That's a strike. 1-2 to David Freese. 2011. Freese in Game 6 tied the game with a 2-run triple, and in the 11th inning, a walk-off home run. So no matter what happens, that was certainly a high point in his career. David's 31, out of Texas, born in Corpus Christi. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Three and 2. Ryu walked Ibar, hit Cowgill, and gave up a double to Freese and a double to Pujols. And then Yasiel steals the show. Still 3 and 2. Chris Iannetta waiting on deck. Freese, who is basically a third baseman, was a catcher in high school. Big bouncer to Rojas. By the way, he paid attendance tonight. 44,561. So that's a sellout. It's the largest crowd, they say, since the renovation here. Remember last night they had 43,669. So in 2 games, 88,000. According to the book, this ballpark holds 45,483. But you'd have to use a shoehorn, I think, to get more people in here tonight. 1 ball and 1 strike to Chris Iannetta. Slow and low. 2 and 1. Dodgers in the 8th inning. It'll be Uribe, Ellis, and Rojas. Fastball, fly ball, Matt Kemp. So the Angels stopped dead in the tracks in the 7th inning by Ryu, and we're heading for the 8th with the Dodgers leading the Angels 4-0. 4-0 in favor of the Dodgers as we go to the 8th inning. There's one thing the Dodgers will be faced with, and that will be the pitch count for Hyun-Jin Ryu. Ryu, in 7 innings, has made 100 pitches, and Rick Honeycutt wants to find out how he feels. In looking at Ryu's work going way back against the Giants in April, he made 112 pitches. Later on, the end of May, he made 109 pitches against Pittsburgh. His last game, he made 108 pitches, and so Jamie Wright is loosening up in the Dodger bullpen. Dodgers having left the bases loaded in the 7th, and Juan Uribe the batter in the 8th. Fastball, 0-1. Uribe hit into a double play, grounded to short, doubled in a run, and made that leaping catch of the line drive by Pujols. Oh and 1. Dodgers scored 3 in the 3rd, 1 in the 6th, and their defense has prevented the Angels from scoring so far. But again, can't take anything for granted, and Ryu has made 100 pitches. Fastball. Boy, is that a big league pop-up. Cron, and now giving away to Kendall. So Uribe pops it up. 1 down in the 8th. A.J. Ellis flied to center, grounded to 3rd, and walked. A.J., as usual, doing a great job steering Dan Herron last night through 7 1/3, and helping tonight with Ryu through 7. Now Ryu disappearing from the dugout, so it looks like 100 pitches and he's done. So this game is not over yet by any means. We're in the 8th. Right. When the Angels come up in the bottom of the 8th, they'll have Cron, Cowgill, and Ibar, and if anybody gets aboard, Trout and maybe Pujols. 0-1. Fastball. No balls, 2 strikes. Another fastball, slow roller, and it's going to be ruled a foul ball. So A.J. will come back and try it again. On that kind of a play, it's usually the plate umpire, not the third base umpire, because the third baseman is running down the line, and usually the third base umpire loses sight of the ball, but the plate umpire, Brian Knight, was right there to call it easily. So still 0-2 the count. Fastball. Miguel Rojas, certainly a star tonight with the glove. 0 for 3 with the bat. Another foul ball. Dodgers trying to win their 66th game. Angels have won 67. Mattingly's ball club trying to continue their great play on the road. They win tonight, they'll be 36-23 on the road. Fastball, and it's hit for the base hit. So A.J. Ellis goes 1 for 3, base hit and a walk. And with one out, Miguel Rojas coming up. The last one, and he's made several, Miguel Rojas scintillating at shortstop. And that's the ball that sent him out on the grass. Set, throws. Nice pick by Gonzalez. Big play. Miguel made one on Ibar, made one on Cowgill. Those are the highlight plays. He's had a lot of ground balls. In fact, we should add him up. Eight ground balls. Rojas checking with Bundy. On deck, Justin Turner. Fastball down and away out of the zone. 1-1. Rasmussen got a little break. Justin Turner waiting for his shot. We're in the 8th. 4-0 Dodgers with one out. Ellis at first. $44,561 taking it in. C.J. Wilson went 5 2/3. Rasmussen came in the 6th inning to face Rojas, and Miguel fouled out. One and two on the breaking ball. Rojas hitting just 193, but with the glove, he's hitting about 500. Breaking ball, hit and slicing. Here comes Trout. It's going to drop for the hit. Stopping at second is Ellis. So the Dodgers with one out get base hits from Ellis and Rojas, and that'll bring up Justin Turner. Dodgers, remember, loaded the bases with 2 out in the 7th inning, but as they have done all year, they failed to come up with a clutch hit as Crawford came off the bench and struck out. Dodgers hitting, maybe 150 with the bases loaded. So Turner with Puig on deck. Justin trying to keep the inning alive. Struck out, walked, and scored a run. Singled and grounded out. Two on, one out. And ball one. Corey Rasmussen trying to get 2 outs here after surviving the 7th inning. Justin batting .314. 23 runs batted in. breaking ball in there. 1-1. Turner also has 3 home runs, and as we mentioned earlier, he is also 3 for 3 in stolen bases. Ellis would be a tough man to score on a base hit. Another breaking ball. 2-1. Waiting on deck, Yasiel Puig. He is 2 for 4 tonight. 2 singles, fouled out, and struck out. And another breaking ball, though he's behind 3-1. Just in the red. With Ellis at second, Rojas at first, and 1 away. Corey Rasmus picking up the pieces for the starter, C.J. Wilson. Three and one on breaking balls. Fastball for ball 4. So Yasiel Puig will be coming up with the bases loaded. Mike Scioscia heading for the mound. In his last at bat, Puig swung at a curveball, and it looked like he might have hurt himself, and then swung and struck out on the fastball. As usual, he hits himself with the bat. So Rasmus will leave. Cam Bedrosian will be coming in, and we'll be right back. You know, friends, each week you can go beyond the dugout into the Dodger clubhouse. Join our host, Alana Rizzo. She goes one-on-one with Don Mattingly to get the inside scoop from the Diamond. So don't miss Dodger Clubhouse Monday at 8 on Sportsnet LA. Enter Cam Bedrosian. You may remember his father, Steve. Among other things, you should remember his father because he was a Cy Young winner. His father, Steve, is now the pitching coach at a high school in Georgia. Cam is the youngest of 4 Bedrosian boys, all of whom played baseball. In fact, Cam's been playing since he was 3 years old. Cam Bedrosian, born in Georgia, lives in Georgia, drafted by the Angels, first-round pick back in 2010. And he inherits a tough spot Bases loaded, 1 out, and Yasiel Puig coming up. Yasiel Puig last year hit his first Major League Grand Slam. Wouldn't you know, it would be in Atlanta. Dodgers had the bases loaded and failed to score in the 7th inning. They had the bases loaded in the 3rd inning and scored 3. They're hitting .164 with the bases loaded, and here's Puig. Breaking ball, foul back. So Bedrosian starting and breaking ball and gets out in front, 0-1. Cam is an even 6, 205 pounds. He will be 23 in October. Basically, fastball, slider, changeup, and he started him with the slider. Fastball at 95. Puig still hitting himself with the bat. Yasiel 2 for 4. Dodgers had a chance to break it wide open in the 7th, couldn't do it. Another golden opportunity here in the 8th. Ellis, Rojas, and Turner all out there. Fastball for a strike. Angels signed Bedrosian 2010. This is his first year in the big league. 1-2. Fastball just missed inside. Boy, he's throwing nice and easy at 95. Puig beating himself. 2-2. Breaking ball. High slider, not much on it at all. Yasiel trying to stay loose. Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Mike Scioscia studying Bedrosian's every move. 3-2, 1 out, and the bases loaded. Dodgers lead 4-0. Time. There he goes. He's amazing to watch, isn't he? Three and 2. Fastball got him. And 96. After some marvelous 95, he added 1. The second time Puig strikes out. So 2 out, and Adrian Gonzalez the batter. Will the Dodgers be plagued with their inability to do anything with the bases loaded? And will they showcase tonight by doing it 2 consecutive innings? Gonzalez struck out twice, walked, and singled. Dodgers have left 8. Crawford struck out as a pinch hitter with the bases loaded. Foul back. So the Dodgers in danger of leaving 11. They've had golden opportunities to just run away and hide. A.J. Ellis at third. Miguel Rojas at second. Justin Turner at first. Fastball hit into left field. So Ellis will score. Rojas coming to the plate. He will score. And the Dodgers now have some breathing room and lead 6-0. So Adrian Gonzalez singles to chase in a couple. Got a fastball below the knees and probably drove it into left. So Ellis and Rojas score. 6 runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, 2 hits for the Angels. And here's Hanley Ramirez as the Dodgers finally break through. Breaking ball hit up the middle. The throw to first, not in time, and the bases are loaded again. So Kendrick trying to make a desperate play, going out into center field. He had no play at second. Tried to get it to first. So the bases are loaded. There's Kendrick. Off balance throw, kind of floated, and Hanley beats it easily. So Matt Kemp coming up. Dodgers 6 runs, 12 hits. The Angels no runs, 2 hits. The best road team against the best home team, and the road team is putting up the numbers. Kemp single, sac fly, walked twice. Fastball. As we mentioned several times, Matt Kemp usually decides the issue in the first 3 pitches. He did go 3-2 once tonight and walk. So the base is still loaded. Turner, Gonzalez, Ramirez. Breaking ball, a slider. Called a swing. Kemp can't believe it. Like Matt talking to himself a little bit. No balls and 2 strikes. Another slider. 1-2. The book says that Bedrosian throws fastball, slider, and changeup. The breaking balls that he has thrown look more like curveballs. Check swing, they're going to punch him out. So Matt Kemp will strike out with the bases loaded. However, Adrian Gonzalez had the base hit to drive in 2. Matt is going to be kicked out of the game. Arguing with the plate umpire Brian Knight, and he is history. So Kemp kicked out, but the Dodgers get 2, and we're heading to the bottom of the 8th. 6-0 Dodgers. has a puzzled look on his face. It really started on the check swing that was called a strike by the first base umpire, Manny Gonzalez. Now, after listening to what the plate umpire, Brian Knight, said, that's the check that was called a strike. You can't believe it, as now he turns to say something to the plate umpire. Now, Brian Knight tells him, don't follow me, and he proceeded to follow him, and Knight throws him out. But it was the check swing when he looked at Manny Gonzalez that started him off. So Andre Ethier will go into right field, and we'll go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Efren Navarro, who played last night, Navarro was 0 for 2 and gave way to Cron, who singled in the 8th inning last night. And Jamie Wright will pick up for Hyun-Jin Ryu, who made 100 pitches. Cole Calhoun is out on deck, so it'll be Cron, then Calhoun to bid for Cowgill, and then Ibar. And ball one. Cron topped out in front of the plate and struck out. Efren Navarro hitting .287. 0 for 2 last night as the DH. That's a strike. Navarro did not play in the second game, nor did he play in the first. So he made his appearances right here. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ground ball to Gonzalez. He'll do it himself. Go 1 away. Cowgill, while he was in there, hit by a pitch and was robbed of a hit on a dazzling play by Miguel Rojas. So now they'll try Calhoun. Rojas made that play going out on the grass. It was so close, if you remember. It was reviewed, and Cowgill was called out. Calhoun started last night. He lost a huge hit in the 6th inning last night. With 2 on, he hit a bullet, and a leaping catch by Adrian Gonzalez took an extra base hit away from him. And then his last at bat last night, Calhoun singled and stole second and was the tying run. Left at second when the Dodgers won 2-1. Calhoun started the first game of the series at Dodger Stadium, singled against Greinke and scored in the first inning, and wound up going 1 for 4. 1-1. Check swing, slow curveball in there. On deck, Eric Ibar. We'll repeat in case you missed it. The Dodgers got Roberto Hernandez from Philadelphia. Little number up along first. Jamie picks it up, throws him out. So 2 down here in the 8th inning, and the batter will be Eric Ibar. Roberto Hernandez, who will be pitching tomorrow for the Dodgers against Milwaukee. He was 6-8 with a pretty good earned run average, 3.8. The opposition was hitting .237 against Roberto. He's big, 6'4", 230. Will be 34 the end of the month. The Dodgers have not announced who they will send to Philadelphia in the deal. We're also not sure who will leave the club to make room for Hernandez. Josh Beckett went back to Los Angeles. He has that hip problem, and he was examined by Dr. Neil Elecrash, and no word on that. By the way, kind of a celebration for a very nice fella by the name of Jamie Wright. He is in his 700th game tonight. Jamie will be 40 years old Christmas Eve. He was a first-round pick by the Rockies way back in 1993. That's a strike. On deck, Mike Trout, who is 0 for 3 on his birthday. And remember, in his last 2 birthdays, he homered each time. 2-1 to Ibar. Another strike. Two and two. Breaking ball missed. Jamie all set to walk off the field. He thought he got it. He's starting to go. Nope. Jamie is big, 6'6", 230, out of Oklahoma City. Slicing foul ball down the line. To repeat, 44,561. Two sellouts down here, certainly no surprise. By the way, with the Dodgers leading 6-0, you might wonder, the Angels have been shut out only twice this year, and it was at home. Remember, they had the best home record in the majors. And Ibar got a little bit of that, though he's still there. Ibar 5'10", 180. Switch hitter. Trouble from either side of the plate. Far more effective left-handed, batting .289 from this side. So it's still 3-2. Fouled away. Mike Trout waiting on deck, followed by Albert Pujols. Trout popped to short, struck out in the 4th, hit into a force play in the 6th. Albert Pujols flied to left, lined out to 3rd, double to left. The line drive was that leaping catch by Uribe. So he's hit the ball hard. Breaking ball fouled away. Now that Wright has pitched in 700 games, the most in the active pitching department would be led by LaCroix Hawkins. 983 games and still pitching. Kyle Farnsworth, Francisco Rodriguez, Joe Nathan, Chad Qualls, Jeremy Affeldt. We'll see him with the Giants, and Jamie Wright. Ground ball to Rojas. Big stretch by Adrian Gonzalez. Nice play. So Ibar is nailed. Another ground ball to Rojas. Well, wait a minute now. The Dodgers leave the field. Mike Scioscia comes out to talk to the plate umpire. We'll see. Are they going to review that play? It'll be up to Mike, down 6-0. Can't blame him if he should win the review. Mike Trout would then come up with a man aboard. It was a great stretch by Adrian Gonzalez, but it's worth another look, and it is an official review. Hard for us to see the footwork. Manny Gonzalez, eyes riveted on the play. You see him drop his arm. Whenever you drop your arm under the ball, you're going to throw a pitch that sails. And that's what happened. Watch that. He kind of dropped the hand and it sailed. Gonzalez is his foot on the bag. Looks like it. And if they see that same play in New York, we would assume then that Ibar's out. That play looked easier. And take another look. Yep, he's out. He did look out. Gonzalez just did do a toe dance. And we'll be back right after this. Streaming sports service celebrating 12 years. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Be sure to visit Dodgers.com for details. Cole Calhoun, who pinch hit and was thrown out by Wright, stays in the game in right field. Efren Navarro will take over at first base for Cron. And we have reached the ninth inning with the Dodgers leading 6-0. Carl Crawford appeared as a pinch hitter in the seventh inning with the bases loaded and struck out, and then stayed in the game. So with Kemp kicked out, the Dodgers used all four outfielders tonight. Meanwhile, the fellow who has been busy and dazzling is Miguel Rojas. What a night. Rojas and Hanley Ramirez using the American League's designated hitter to the nth degree. Rojas with the glove has fielded 9 ground balls and got them all. Hanley Ramirez with the bat has a couple of hits, the big one, a single with the bases loaded in the third inning. So as Clayton Kershaw leans back with Rojas, it is Rojas who's the standout. Chopper short hop nicely, and then an overthrow. Every time you throw the ball on the run, the chances are you're going to throw high. So it'll be E5 for David Freese, and the Dodgers have the runner Crawford safely aboard at second base. Nice short hop, and then the throw just took off. E5. So with Crawford at second, nobody out. Here's Uribe. Ball one. Uribe hit into a double play, grounded to short, doubled in a run, and popped up. Check swing for a strike. 6 runs, 12 hits for the Dodgers, and they have left 11. I mean, they could have just disintegrated this game, but didn't. Angels no runs, 2 hits, 1 error, and they have left 4. Fastball fouled away, and a good one at 95. C.J. Wilson, then Rasmus and Bedrosian. Dodgers, Ryu and Wright. Breaking ball, 2-2. Cam Bedrosian. We certainly remember his dad, Steve, pitching for the Braves. Two and two. Breaking ball. That's the slider that doesn't bend very much. Doesn't usually you see a slider down and away, kind of a lateral break before it goes down. So that pitch to Uribe was up there, and on TV the flat you don't see the break. So Uribe strikes out, 1 away. Now Ellis trying to pick up Crawford. When the Angels come up for the last call in the 9th inning, they have the big boys. Mike Trout will lead it off. He's 0 for 3. Albert Pujols will hit second. He is 1 for 3. Josh Hamilton is 0 for 3, but you underline the O, it's OH on the ball where he was robbed by Yasiel Puig. One ball and 1 strike to AJ. Puig listening to Hanley Ramirez. D. Gordon restless. They make him sit down tonight. Give him a well-deserved rest. One ball, 1 strike. Fastball. Jamie Wright, in pitching the 8th inning, made 17 pitches. So the Dodgers in their bullpen, Pedro Baez begins to warm up, and it looks like he'll get the call to pitch the 9th. That's a nice assignment. Come in to face Trout, Pujols, and Hamilton. Fastball got him, and he knew it. So 2 out. Crawford is still at second base, and the batter has been the wonder at shortstop, Miguel Rojas. 9 ground balls. He's handled every single one of them. A couple of very tough throws, and each time Adrian Gonzalez has saved him. But Rojas been scintillating, brilliant. With the bat, he is 1 for 4. Ball 1. And that's foul. Dodgers winning a tough game last night 2-1. Another tough game before that, 5-4. And the Angels jumping out and winning the first game behind Garrett Richards. So the Dodgers would be very happy to beat a very good Angel team 3 out of 4. 1-2 to Miguel. But more importantly, as far as the Dodgers are concerned, a victory tonight would send them to Milwaukee 3.5 games in front of the Giants, who lost today 3-1. So for Mattingly, suddenly a little bit of the rarefied air, a 3.5 game lead. Maybe. Fastball, that's going to go to the gap. That's going to be a base hit. Scoring easily will be Crawford on a long single, and the Dodgers now lead 7-0. So a long single to right center field, and Crawford scoring, set up on the error by David Freese. Worth another look. He hit it hard and well to the gap. So Crawford brings it in. 7 runs, 13 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for the Angels. And here is Justin Turner. In the Dodger lineup tonight, the only one who came away empty-handed was really Van Slyke, who was hit by a pitch, struck out, and flied to right. Crawford went 0 for 2, so that's the one gap. Otherwise, everybody else in the lineup with at least 1 hit. Turner has walked twice and singled. Justin right there at .314. It seems like that's been his batting average all night. Struck out and walked, singled, grounded out, walked again. 1 for 3, scored a run. In the dirt. So not only have the Dodgers scored 7 runs tonight, they've left 11 men on base. So Messrs. Wilson, Rasmus, and Bedrosian, not to mention Mike Socia and his pitching coach Mike Butcher. Tough night. Fastball off the plate. Cam Bedrosian trying to get an out here in the 9th inning. Might have had it, except for the throwing error by David Freese, because he then struck out Uribe and Ellis. Fastball lifted to right field and deep. Calhoun to the track, not quite, and makes the catch. So the Dodgers wind up 1 run, 1 hit, 1 error, and we're heading to the bottom of the 9th. Trout, Pujols, and Hamilton. Was quite shiny tonight. It all started with Albert Pujols robbed a line drive one-handed by Uribe. Then Miguel Rojas, 9 ground balls, and the toughest one he got Cowgill. Then was the most dramatic play, Yasiel Puig on the ball hit by Hamilton in the 6th inning. So with Messrs. Uribe, Rojas, and Puig, and some strong pitching by Hyun-Jin Ryu, Dodgers take a 7-0 lead in the 9th inning. Pedro Baez will be coming in. Pedro, 6'2", big fella, 230 pounds, 26 years old, from Bani in the Dominican Republic. And he is asked to get 3 outs and send everybody home except his teammates. Will be gone on the road heading to Milwaukee. Mike Trout did not celebrate his birthday the way he would have liked. Trout is 0 for 3, popped up, struck out, hit into a force play. Mike Trout, 23 years old today. When the Dodgers signed Pedro Baez, they signed him just before his 19th birthday. Baez basically fastball and slider. Fastball, ball 1. Baez hasn't hit much. Rancho Cucamonga last year, Albuquerque, Chattanooga, and the Dodgers this year. And he's behind now, 2-0. Though throwing hard, that fastball was 98. Two and 0. So leading 7-0. The last thing Baez wants to do is walk the first man he faces. Albert Pujols on deck. Dodgers are hoping that young Baez can give Messrs. Jansen and Wilson and the rest of them a rest. In there. Trout had at least 1 base hit in 20 straight games against the National League, but he went 0 for 4 last night, and he's 0 for 3 tonight. During that stretch, he had 75 base hits against the National League in the last couple of years. 3-2. Three balls and 2 strikes. Foul back. Baez throwing hard, 98. $44,561, but many of whom have long since left the ballpark. Fastball fouled away. And that one, 99. Albert Pujols waiting on deck. And then Josh Hamilton. That's the heart of the Angel lineup. Numbers 2, 3, and 4. Well, now that's something, isn't it? 97, 98, and 99. Trout kind of huffing and puffing, trying to make contact with those blurs. This will be a 9th pitch. And fouled away upstairs. Well, he took a little off that. That was only 97. Where do they find people who can throw the ball 99 miles an hour? Pedro Baez from Bani in the Dominican Republic. And throws it away for ball 4. So Trout draws the walk, and the batter will be Albert Pujols. Well, you see a veteran like Pujols, he's faced just about every kind of a pitcher. So the veteran Pujols from the Dominican and the young right-hander from the Dominican hook up here. Albert flied to left, lined out, robbed by Uribe, and doubled. $7-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 9th. They're not going to hold Trout. He can run to his heart's content. One ball and no strike. Well, he might throw hard, but that doesn't count. You got to get it over the plate. He's had one pitch at 99. He's made 11 fastballs. I don't think we've seen a breaking ball. He tried to throw a breaking ball, not even close. So now Gonzalez comes in to try to break the mood. A little hang in there time. Hey, you're leading 7-0. Relax. Throw some strikes. Pedro has been in 2 previous games. 2 innings, he allowed 2 earned runs. So his ERA is 9. Fastball, foul back. Interesting in the booth next door. We're watching that go right underneath where he is. A.J. Pujols, Albert's son, who's an 8th grader. Boy, what a feeling that must be. My dad hit a foul ball just below where I'm leaning out. AJ's left-handed. 2-1. Fastball hit down to short. Rojas to Turner to first. 2 down on the double play. Rojas powering out to Baez. Way to go. So the Angels are down to their last out, and it's Josh Hamilton who was grounded out, struck out, and then the biggest play, I guess, of the night. 2 on, 2 out in the 6th inning. Josh hit a ball that looked like it was not going to be caught because it was slicing away from Yasiel Puig. And although it was slicing away, Puig never quit and made an incredible catch. Right, 0-1. Hamilton 0 for 7 during the games here. 0 for 11 in the second game of the series. And a home run in the first game. And that's it. His only hit, the home run in the 6th inning against Zach Greinke. 1 ball and 1 strike to Josh. Two and 1 the count. Pedro Baez in his 3rd game as a Dodger. Got Pujols to ground into a double play. That's something to tell the grandkids about. Two and 2. This was worth watching. Here's Hamilton driving a big slicing drive to the left center field wall, and then there was Puig. What a play, and what a time to do it. Biggest single defensive play of the night. And Hamilton strikes out a second time. Baez throwing 98 and 99. Puig thanks the Lord, and the Dodgers breeze to a 7-0 shutout over the Angels, the best home team in baseball, and the Dodgers rub it in by shutting him out. No runs, 2 hits for the Angels. Ryu the winner and Wilson the loser. Baez made 19 pitches and was certainly impressive with his velocity, to say the least. So that'll do it. The Dodgers will pack up. They're going to Milwaukee. We'll talk to you soon. Until then, good night, everybody.